Hello everyone, welcome back to Defense Politics Asia, and this is the conclusions. And again, we're gonna chit chat, have a chill session, and talk about the general strategic situation over in the Ukraine war based on the latest information from the latest situation report, which is reporting on the day before, on the 18th of September. So there's a few major things that is currently that it really takes my attention is of course the Russian offensive looking more and more it looks pretty big. Like in Zaporizhia. Oh, so it looks like it hanged. The Russians are conducting the offensive over some kind of offensive operation over in the Huyai sector at the Mafopil region, and they also attacked below here, yeah, Malatomashka and Novodanilivka. And previously we have attacks at Robotine, there was attacks in Novoandrievka and Shibaki, and it is a lot of probings, and I'm not sure, if this is going to lead to some kind of offensive. The amount of probings is just unusual, and the fact that there is some frontline changes over in the Mafopil region is interesting, which means that these are not just fire attacks. These are Russian troops, taking grounds, and but whether they will just go along the road, that 1.6 kilometer road down to Huaypole and start an Huaypole offensive, the Battle of Huaypole. I'm not sure. But it is pretty concerning. And the other places, just like it's just like in the Donetsk front as well. This is looking a lot of things happening right here. Like there is fighting reported towards Dane, and then Konstantinivka, and towards Katerinivka. Yelizavetivka was mentioned this time round. There's fighting reported for Diane. They're heading towards Bohov-Yehelenka, Voleda, Zolotaneva, and Shetatsky. And previously, we of course also have reports of fighting at Novoukrayinka. This is based on the previous day's report, and you can see that there is some major, double pincer that is currently, happening, in this region here, and yeah, this looks very big, in my opinion, and of course there is major junctions around here, like Shatatsky have like two around there, and Bohov-Yelenka is one, Novoukrayinka is another one with junctions. These are all very important places, and taking all these junctions will collapse France. It is not France, not the French country. I mean, as in the front line, collapse France. So, yeah, and if the Russians are able to just go in this way, and they capture this area here, this entire area around Voleda will just collapse on its own. So this is the brilliant thing about moving in this kind of big arrow movements. If the Russians are able to get it done, they can save a lot of troops, and they can capture a lot of grounds with a lot of lesser casualties. Then the Pokrov offensive is also still ongoing, and there's of course a lot of fighting reported in this region as well. I can't even fit them in, so just focus on Pokrov direction alone. Russian forces are attacking Novotoreksky, Marolibivka, Hrodivka, Krasnaya, Novohrodivka, Marilinivka, Mihailivka, and is very major. They're pushing for Novoukrayinka around here. Novoukrayinka again. There's always so many repeating names. Hrodivka is probably at the verge of capture. We're probably going to hear the capture of Hrodivka very, very soon. So these are all pretty major situations, in my opinion, that's currently happening. It is a big question mark where the Russians are going to push west of Novohorodivka. Will they hit into Lysivka? Or will they swing south and cut the highway and then go down into Selidove? No, or will they just go straight on and cut the highway over this place and go for the smaller villages of Zeleny and Dashensky? And yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's the Russians' plan at this moment. It's still early days. And the progress is really slow. The Ukrainians seems to be doing a very good job at holding back the Russians, even though, of course, there is still frontline changes. But the Ukrainians are at least not allowing this to become a rout. Like I mentioned before, the it might be a rout if the Ukrainians continue to give up ground and not fighting. So I think it looks like they have kind of get their shit together, and the shit is no longer hitting the fan. The initial shock and awe is over. They have regrouped themselves, reconstitute their emotions. Looks like they can come back to fight again. So so we shall see how this develops. Looks like the war is not going to end so quickly, because if it turns into a massive rout and the Russian and the Ukrainian troops decided not to fight, they give up fighting, then then we'll probably see a very quick end to the war. But that doesn't seem to be the case, so the war is going to drag on. And another big offensive area is, of course, in the Torex, New York region at the New York front. Russian forces are hitting Dashne, Torex, Zalizny, Shebnivka, Nerepivka, and New York region. And it's just one big massive arrow that's currently pushing out. And this yet another offensive place. Yet another offensive place is over in the south of Bakhmut. This area here is also very intense right now. The fighting reported at Stupovsky, Peteshne, Bilohora, and Danilivka. And Dilievka. And although there's these 4 arrows, it looks like there's 2 flanks. It's not true, because there's only 4 settlements here. This is the only 4 settlements that they can reference. In fact, the attack might be actually full. The entire front line is currently actually pushing in a massive arrow direction towards the New York front. This could actually be the case, because there's only these 4 settlements, so there's no other settlements to reference for this center part. There is no settlements to reference that. So even if there's a push in the center, in the center region, it will still be being listed as Bilohora, or they will list it as Priteshne. So this is something I just want to highlight. So this is yet another offensive place. The northern half of Bakhmut, I don't believe there's a real offensive happening. And then of course we have the Sivas offensive. This is also another real offensive that's currently breaking out, with Russian forces pushing in the Vimka, Ivano-Darivka region, Verkhan-Okanyamsky, and towards Sivas. And previously we have reports of fighting over in Zvenivka and Peresne, but it seems like this area here is quieter. I don't think this is the main push. The main push is still towards Sivas from the Ivano-Darivka and Vimka direction. But at this moment, there is no indication or no corroboration of the capture of Vimka yet. So the latest geolocation, though, is still far from Vimka. Of course, Vimka is like, it just flattened buildings and there's nothing really much here. So, they can claim they captured Vimka and it doesn't really change anything. Like, maybe there's a few very abundant houses. Maybe these are houses are haunted. I'm not sure. So this is yet another one. And then we have along the Oskil's front. There's a lot of attacks around this entire stretch from Svetove to the Kremina front, but I don't think these are the main push. The main push is, of course, at the Pischani front, with the Russians threatening the Oskil River, which is over here. This is the Oskil River. The Russians are pushing at Krylyakivka, Krylyashkivka, generally in the Pischani direction. Previously, we have reports of fighting at Novosinove, as well as Kolesnikivka. They are pushing Lozova as well, Stemekivka. There is frontline change over in the Novoselivsky region. Probably this is one of those that is attacking towards Lozova. So this is yet another offensive. So you can see how many offensives that is currently being run by the Russians at one shot. It is totally different from 1.5 years ago when the Wagner was still around. There's only one real offensive, maybe 2 at times. Like there's the Bakhmut offensive during the Battle of Bakhmut, which the Wagner is pushing. Then sometimes we have Voleda offensive, but generally, there's not this much things happening. The Russians are making pushes literally everywhere, almost, and this is very, very one of these things that I think maybe a lot of people is not aware of, especially people who follow other channels. I'm not sure. I don't watch other channels, so I don't know. But I assume because I don't believe people report the Ukraine war like I do, which I cover literally all the boring places as well. So people may not be aware how many places the Russians are pushing, because maybe a lot of the focus is on Pokrov, maybe Vodiane, and then maybe the Kursk region, and that's is about it, because even these few regions, there's a lot to talk about. It's enough to do a 20-minute video. So maybe a lot of other places are underreported, which is why I know I try to share this, and which is also why this conclusion I want to highlight this in case you didn't watch the situation report. And in the Kursk region, so just some updates from the Kursk region. Situation remains pretty stalemate-ish. The Ukrainian counter-offensive is not breaking through. They are stuck. They are currently stuck in the Veseloye as well as Medvedev. Yeah, I do not know how to pronounce it. I never checked. And then the Russian forces are still attacking in the western flank. Ukrainian forces are conducting limited counteroffensive in this region here. And there are some interesting developments as mentioned in the situation report and the frontline changes report already. And this is the main push. The currently very stalemate-ish. Fighting continue to be reported at Malaya Lognia. There is still some heavy bombardments in the Cheka Square, Porosnoye region. Russians are pushing Plekovo, which is the interesting part, but the Ukrainians are still there. They are pushing back towards Borki. So the Kursk region is now cursed for everyone. Everybody is cursed now. The Russians are finding it hard to push forward. The Ukrainians are also finding it really painful to continue to hold back the Russians. Everybody is suffering. This is a suffering front. It's a very cursed front. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they are reporting some crazy numbers about the total losses of the Ukrainian forces over in this for this Kursk offensive that they have conducted. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, let's look at, do I have the latest? So let's look at the latest numbers. I can't show you because I may accidentally, show you classified stuff. So I don't want to show you classified stuff. So I can give me a second. So based on this is the latest. This is an excerpt from the Russian Defense Ministry's latest Kursk report. They are claiming that almost 15,000 Ukrainian troops have lost their life in this Kursk offensive, including 122 tanks, 52 IFVs, 93 armored personnel carriers, 798 armored fighting vehicles. These are probably the MRAPs, the MRAP type of vehicle. 464 motor vehicles, 109 artillery guns, 28 MLRS, 7 of them are HIMARS, and 6 of them is probably M270s, and then 8 SAM launchers. So it's pretty significant. This is huge number of losses. Of course, this is just take it with a pinch of salt, because this is of course just claim. This is just a Russian Defense Ministry claim, but this helps to at least also put into perspective how huge the Ukrainian force is that was invested into this Kursk offensive. So let's say if this number is true, let's say 15,000 troops is indeed lost with 122 tanks. We are talking about the Ukrainians are still managing to hold back the Russians at this moment. That means the total number of troops that the Ukrainians are currently operating in the Kursk region, we are looking at a ballpark of maybe 50 to 100,000 troops, which is a huge amount of troops. This amount of troops, just to put into perspective, many of the militaries in the world, the active force, the active military is only around 30,000 to 50,000 troops. Like, there's only 30 to 50,000 troops, active troops. Most military in the world don't really have that much active military. Everyone else, everything else is just reserves, and active force usually is not that big. Imagine half of the active force is gone. That's ridiculous. That's a lot of troops. So and let's say the estimated number of troops in the Kursk offensive total up to 100,000 troops. Then this war would probably still go on, or this offensive is going to still go on for some time. If it's around 50,000 troops, then a good 15%, more than that, 30% of the troops is gone. Then the effectiveness of the troops, the Ukrainian forces is of course also greatly diminished. But I'm not sure. Maybe it's on the lower end, given that the Ukrainians are struggling to counterattack. Maybe it's on the lower end. Maybe it's 50,000 troops. but ultimately it's still huge amount of men that is being invested in the Kursk offensive, in this Kursk front, and it's just amazing number of troops, amazing number of people that is dying, and of course the Russians are losing troops as well. And I would estimate the Russians on this area lose at least 8,000 to 10,000 troops. Uh, this is given the fact that the Russians are conducting overwhelming number of airstrikes, drone strikes, which the Ukrainians cannot match. And but assuming that the Russians are also taking a lot of casualties from drone attacks, airstrikes, because the Ukrainians are doing airstrikes as well, more limited. So maybe 8,000 troops is possible. So this is just my ballpark, but it is just quite amazing how big this offensive is. It's totally way bigger than how I imagined it to be, which is why initially I thought, no, this thing will be all gone by 2 weeks, because I thought it's just a gimmick. I was wrong. Ukrainian just went all into this Kursk offensive, and it is just quite a calamity that it didn't go further for them. So this operation is a massive failure at this moment, and they can't just give it up. Giving it up may be worse for the Ukrainians, because the Russians may just decide to go for Sumy, or as a warning, punishment, or the Russians would just go and do a Kharkiv offensive and create a buffer zone. And that was also going to be a massive problem for the Ukrainians, because a buffer zone also becomes an active front line. They still have to invest the number of troops there. It would be the same. And those land might be lost. After the war is negotiated, they might lose this land. So the Ukrainians, since they have committed, they have to commit all the way. What the Ukrainians could do at this moment is probably launch more offensives, using their reserve forces to attack, maybe like from this area. They seem to have some troops here. Break up the front line a bit. Don't just try to just go head on to the wall. Currently, they can't break through this area here. They should try somewhere else. But it looks like they are just stuck there. They're just not trying anywhere. And I'm also anticipating a Ukrainian push from the north of Grushkovo region. And but I think, like I said, the window is over. It is really, even if I suggest all these things, I don't think the Ukrainians are going to succeed, because the window is over. So yeah, that's the situation right now in Ukraine. Just some general macro stuff. And I remember reading a few days ago, Russian government have announced that they're going to expand the military further. I think up to 2 million over troops. I'll probably do a separate video on it, probably drop it on DPA News channel. We shall see how. And yeah, snafu. And I'll see you guys in the next update.